It's finished at Sunderland. Manchester United have done all they can. That Rooney goal was enough for the 3 points. Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! I swear you'll never see anything like this ever again. So watch it, drink it in.
Now, let me ask you about your career as a commentator. It's a 48 years. It's very long story, but let's put it. How can I say? We must talk about the start. Can you tell me about the start? I remember you tell me the little story about as John Moss, or someone told you that talk little, say little, talk a lot.
No.
Is that right?
No, it's the other way around. Talk little, but say a lot. Yeah. Not
okay.
say little, but talk a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, so the point was be economical with your words, and I think it was very good advice. John Motson was a commentator that became a friend, and he was commentating before I started, and so he gave me that. He sent it in a telegram. Not many of your viewers or listeners will know what a telegram is. It's such a dated concept, but somewhere in the house I've still got it, and I'm very grateful to John for doing that. Yeah, I went from playing into a bit of journalism as a magazine. I could still play while that was happening, so it was like an introduction. I wrote for a weekly column for a magazine while I was still playing, and I met some people from television. They offered me a job in television behind the scenes, and somewhat reluctantly I took it because it meant stopping playing at the level that I was playing at, and I missed. My job was a studio based, so I missed being out and about on a Saturday. I'd been at football grounds ever since I was 8 years old. I'd been 3 o'clock on a Saturday was where I would be in a football ground somewhere for some reason as a fan or as a player. And so I got a bit fidgety, I suppose, about not being out there. And the only way I could see to get back out to a football ground on a Saturday afternoon was have a go at commentating. And being in television, I was able to do a couple of tests. Even so, I was very lucky that a one-game assignment came up very quickly after I did the test. And it was at Southampton at the old ground in the Dell. They were in the second division against Sheffield Wednesday. And they said, we need somebody. And my boss, who'd heard the couple of tests that I'd done, said, I've got this guy here you might give a chance to. And I got the chance. And I was lucky. There is we have a joke that you can do 2 games on the same day, your first and your last. And it didn't turn out, it was my first, but it didn't turn out to be my last.
It was your first, and then you are doing this 48 years, yeah?
I think if you'd have asked me, somebody told me once that I said quite early, what did I want to do with my career? And I said, I want to just keep doing this. And if I can survive doing it, then I would regard it as a successful professional life and also personal life as well, because I love doing it. So yeah, I've survived. I have survived.
Yeah, I really wish you can go for, at least 50 years, please. And then when you hit the 50 years, and then let me have another interview with you.
If I do that, I guarantee you will have the interview. I promise.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will come back to you 2 years later. And we are not done yet. There is a lot more. So in your career, 48 years career, there could be many, how can I say, your own principles or motto when you are commentating.
We now have co-commentators, and I'm very lucky to have worked with some wonderful co-commentators.
Yeah,
as the people that I've commentated on as players, and it's great to share, pick into their knowledge. And so that's changed. Before, when I started, it was just the one voice, but most of the games weren't live. They were cut down to 20-minute highlights packages. That's the way it was in the UK. So I think identifying the players is the most important thing, making sure you have some information and try to look at how the game is developing, maybe tactically. But the issue with it is you can never do it perfectly. So you're always striving to try and get it. It's unscripted. I always come away thinking, why did I say that? Or why didn't I say that? You know, there's always some aftermath, and you have to learn to live with that. But the main important thing, and I would say this to any would-be commentators, whatever country they're working in, watch the game. It's very easy to have a thought, a preconception before the game that this is what's going to happen. They're going to play this way, the other team going to play that way. And it could change. You could have read it wrong anyway, but it could change within a few minutes. And you need to be aware of what's actually happening. So don't be obsessed with the notes. We all do notes. I've got notes here I'm preparing one more game this season. But you basically have to be aware of what's actually happening, not what you went to the ground thinking might happen.
Yeah, it's really good. And I also remember that you told me that 6 years ago when we had the interview, you told me that you don't call we. I mean, when you are commentating England games, you don't call we, to be neutral.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's really important, and it makes the job a lot easier because you have your principles. And I've done 350 England games, I believe, for various people around the world, and I've never said we. To be fair, I work for British Sky Broadcasting, so there are other countries in our footprint, not just England. So you can't assume that everybody wants England to win. You know, it's I think it's the two teams. I've always believed in justice in life, and I think justice in football. So if a team deserves to win, even if it's not maybe the team that the most of the viewers are supporting, you must pay tribute. And there are always two teams on the field. If you just concentrate on one because you think that's what your audience wants, something will happen with the other team and you won't be ready for it. So it's quite an easy principle to stick to be honest with you. If England were to win the World Cup, maybe that principle would be challenged a little bit, but I am English. But though they had come close and came particularly close in the last World Cup, I was broadcasting for Australian television, and the Australians aren't all England supporters, as I know only too well. So I have to be impartial and fair. That's the only thing that I would like to be remembered for as somebody who was a fair commentator, you know.
Right, it's really good. And then also I asked those two questions. And then is there anything, I mean, are you going to the next World Cup or not?
Yes, I am, for Australia, actually, for SBS Australia.
Yeah.
So I will be there. Yes. I worked on the 1974 World Cup in London. It was in what was then West Germany, but I did work on it not as a commentator, but as it was my early time. It was the year that I started commentating later in that year. But I did work on it, and then I've been to every World Cup since. My first one was 1978 in Argentina. So I've got to try and keep the run going. And to do it in a different environment, you know, in the Middle East will be, it will be a different kind of World Cup. And I've been lucky enough to be asked. It's a bit like getting picked as a player for the squad. Somebody has to choose you, and fortunately, I've been asked and I've accepted. Yeah,
it's really great to hear. And then you will watch South Korea's games as well in there.
Yes, and I think the interesting thing about this World Cup is it will be possible if you're doing a game in one stadium and that game is over to go to another game because the grounds are all so close. So whether we'll be doing two commentaries a day, I don't think so, but it would be nice to go. I love going to watch for preparation, particularly to watch the team. And I love watching training. And in the pandemic, that's been really difficult to keep those principles up. But we are now getting back to a more open working environment, the new normal, as they call it. And it's quite close to the old normal, I'm glad to say.
My last two questions from now. Okay, there are a lot of South Korean fans who want to be a commentator, and they respect you a lot. So you already said some important points of being commentator. But is there any advice or any story you want to any advice you want to give them to who want to be the commentator?
I think you have to grade your want. You know, you have to want 100% because it's a demanding job. It's a great job, but you have to make certain sacrifices because it takes you away from home. The games are usually on the weekend when maybe people are having conventional family life. It's tough on your own family, your own relationships. You have to put your job first at times where other people are putting their families first. So I think when you say want to do it, having might be quite a nice thing to have a go at, it's not the way to go about it. You have to examine how much you want. Are you prepared to do it for 48 years? You know, are you really, is it really not to the start of something? Is it the end game as well? Which it always was for me. I knew once I started and got fortunate to make some progress in my career that I didn't want to stop. I could have stopped. And I don't want to. Somebody will stop me one day, and it probably won't be me. It'll probably be somebody telling me. But I think that's what I would say. Examine how much you really want to do it. If you want to do it, I've mentioned earlier the things that you must do. Watch the game. Make sure you can identify the players. Love the game, respect the people in it, and be fair and truthful in what you see. Obviously, not everything is factual, so people will disagree with your comments sometimes. A lot, obviously, these days, because people can react with social media. So you have to have a belief that you can do it and a desire that it's your life's goal in your profession. As I often say, it is more a way of life than a job, and you have to buy into. I think it's not the only way you can do it as a job. I'm sure you can. Maybe these days more people do it as a job because they're conscious of not making too many sacrifices. They want to have a proper life, and I don't ever criticize that. I think that's the right way. I've probably done it the old-fashioned way. But if you want to go, and the rest is, vocabulary, making sure you've got a wider range of words than perhaps you would think for normal life. You don't want to be repetitive, but football is football, and it's never dull. I've never ever. People come away and say, "How did you commentate on that?" Because it was a boring game, but it's not boring because you're live. It can change like that, and so often does change like that. So it's always keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Okay. Lastly, I can ask you 100 questions more, but you have your schedule, and then okay. My last question for today. So, is there any plan for you to visit South Korea in near future?
No, there isn't, because simply the demands over here. It's a long season.
Yeah.
I would say it's something I would love to do, but I would need a good reason to do it. A match, a tournament, something that was football related. I'm sure. You keep asking me about whether I'm going to do it for 50 years or not. At some point, sooner rather than later, of course, I'll retire. I'm not Superman, I'm a human being like everybody else, and there will be time when I just can't do it. Maybe it will be, just. Even getting to the gantry might be a bit difficult. So I will have. After that, I would love to do the things that I haven't been able to do, which is socially visit some of the places where I've had really happy memories. I would love to come back to Seoul and to some of the other grounds as well. Maybe where England played in 2002 before the World Cup started, and say, and I've got very clear visual memories of it, and it would be nice. I've never been back to Argentina, where I went for the '78 World Cup. You know, those are bucket list things to do, but I can only probably do them when I retire, or when I am retired by somebody.
All right. And then really, I mean, is there, I mean, please, there are, as I said, I mean, there are a lot of fans, you know your voice, your name, because of sometimes they watch your commentating videos, and then also because of they like to play FIFA or whatever the reason is. There are a lot of fans know you and respect you. Please send any messages for South Korean fans of yours. Lastly.
Well, my message is to South Korean fans is I have never forgotten what happened in 2002. I've never forgotten the togetherness and the love for the South Korean national team that you all showed as members of a proud country, and you had a lot to be proud of in that tournament, not just the way the team played, but the way that the tournament was staged. So keep the faith, love the game, and good luck to you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Martin. And don't forget the promise. When you hit the 50 years, you will have an interview with me.
You'll get the first one. I promise you.
Yeah, exclusive. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.